Good morning, 7th grade. We are going to be doing a theory page today. And just to kind of sweeten this deal a little bit, I know you've already done theory this week, but because you did a page today, you do not have to do a theory page next week. So you're working ahead here, guys. We learned earlier this week about major scales, how we could take tetrachords or groups of 4 pitches and combine them together to make an 8-letter or an 8-pitch scale. Okay, each pitch of a scale is called a scale degree. So we just number them 1 through 8. Okay, and you can see they have a little degree symbol above each number. The scale degrees are numbered from lowest to highest. In the C major scale above, the 2nd scale degree is D, the 4th scale degree is F, etc. So we can name all of the scale degrees by letters, by solfege, and by numbers. So this is an advanced assignment, guys. So you're going to want to pay attention and make sure that you are writing carefully. Check your work. Feel free to pause the video to go back and replay anything. This is your class time, guys, so use this video as you need to. Given one pitch and its scale degree, complete the major scale in each exercise by adding the other pitches in their appropriate places. Fill in the scale name, and remember the scales follow this pattern: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I'm going to highlight the fill in the scale name thing. If you remember, we name the scale by the first pitch. So let's work on this. So our first tetrachord is right here. And we know that we need a whole step here. This is kind of a chubby right there. Here we go. A whole step here and a half step here. So if you guys look to the front of your books, what pitch is half a step above this guy? And we have every good boy. So we have a B. What pitch is half a step above B? It would be a C. So we're going to draw a C in FAC in the 3rd space right above the number 4. So please make sure that you're spreading your scales out, that you're lining up your pitches above the numbers. Okay? Then we're going to kind of work backwards. We're going to fill in the other part of this tetrachord. Now we need a whole step below B. And we're going through the alphabet, guys. So if you use your keyboard, you'll find that the next step down is A. And then a whole step below A is going to be G. So before we move on anymore, our first note right here is G, which means our scale is the G major scale. Let's keep going. We need a whole step right here to linchpin these 2 tetrachords together. Okay, so here we go. Whole step above C. Yep, we're looking at D. A whole step above D is E. And now we're into the 2nd tetrachord, so we're thinking whole, whole, half. So we've gotten our first whole step. Now we need one more whole step above E. Now this is where they're going to trick you, or try to trick you, because E to F is just a half step. So we have to use a sharp sign in front of it to raise F half a step to create more space and to make it a whole step. And then that kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone, because F sharp to G is a half step. There's number 1. Sorry, I'm popping my knuckles, guys, if you can hear that. All right, number 2. We're in bass clef now. Be careful. So we're thinking glad bags don't fall apart. All cows eat grass. All right, so watch out. Okay, what scale degree did they give us here? Oh, they gave us the last one. Okay, here we go. So we have glad bags don't fall apart. This is A. So what comes right after A in the alphabet? B. So we have a B there. So we are in the 7th scale degree, which means we need a half step between the 7th and the 8th scale degree. T to do is half a step. So what note after B is half a step above it? And we're thinking C. So we're going to draw a ledger line and draw C right on top of it. Now here's a little bit of a trick here, guys, to kind of help us and keep us from having to go backwards through the whole scale. Every scale begins and ends on the same note. So like we have a C here, we have a C here, we have a G here, we have a, whoops, my G got erased. We have a G right there. Okay, so if we are ending on C in this scale, that means that we're going to start all the way over here on the 1st degree on C. Okay, so if we're in bass clef, we have all cows. C is going to be here in the second space. And since C is our first pitch, that means we are in the C major scale. And now I'm just going to point something out to you here. If you look up here at the top of your page, that's a C major scale, guys. You notice how there are no sharps or flats? That's because C is the only key where we don't need any sharps or flats to make this whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half pattern happen. So now all we have to do is just go through our alphabet up until we meet the other two pitches. So we have C. We're going to move up to D, just going through your alphabet. E is in the third space. Then we have F on the fourth line, G in the fourth space. Scale degree 6 is going to be A on the top line, and then B and C we've already filled in, 7 and 8. No sharps, no flats. Number 2 is done. Good job, guys. Don't forget, you can pause, rewind, do anything with this video. Go forward, go back, whatever you need to do. All right, number 3. We're back in treble clef. Every good boy deserves fudge and face. And they give us an A. Now, this is scale degree 5, which means our second tetrachord is right here. So we need whole, whole, half. All right, so let's keep going. What's a whole step above A? A to B. A whole step above B. Well, we know we're going to draw some sort of C, but B to C is only half a step, so we have to make it bigger. We're going to use a sharp on C to make that interval a little bigger and make it a whole step. And then C sharp to D is a half step. Okay, so now that we know what our last pitch is, we know what our first pitch is. If we ended on D, then we're going to begin on D. So watch out here. We have every good boy deserves fudge. Here's every. So D is going to hang out right here below that bottom line, right before E. And then again, we need whole, whole, half. Okay, so here we go. Whole step above D, we have E. Whole step above E. See if you guys remember this. F sharp. And then half step above F sharp is G. And then just to check our work, check your interval between G to A, because there should be a whole step here as well. You want to double check that, make sure your tetrachords link together well. So then our last step is our major scale. What's our first note? It's D, so therefore this is a D major scale. All right, guys, last one. They give us pitch number 4, and this guy, scale degree 4, and this guy's a flat, so that tells you that we're going to be using flats in this exercise, no sharps, okay? So we're in bass clef again. What pitch do we have? Glad bags, so we're given B flat. Okay, and I'm just going to keep going up. This is the last scale degree of the first tetrachord. However, if we just go ahead and start the next tetrachord, then we'll figure out what our starting pitch needs to be and all that stuff. So here we go. We have a whole step from B flat to what? We're going to go up to C. Okay, whole step from C to D. So we're going to draw it up here on the third line. Then we're going to keep going. We need another whole step, so we have whole, whole, half. So we're going to do a whole step right here, D to E. And then E to F is already a half step. We don't have to change anything, so that's easy peasy. Cool? All right, so we know our last note, which means we know our first note. So we need to find F over here, and it's got to be lower than that one. So if we have glad bags, here's glad. This one's going to be similar to D because F hangs out right below the staff right there. Okay, and then we just have to get whole, whole, because they've already done the half step for us. So here we go. I'll write that in anyway. Whole step above F is going to be G on the first line. Whole step above G is going to be A. And then just double check your work. Make sure that A to B flat is a half step before we move on. And then last step, we know our starting pitch is F, so therefore this is the F major scale. And if you guys go back to your key signature knowledge, what we studied earlier in the school year, 1 flat is the key of F major, And that's what its scale looks like. And that's why there's only one flat in the key, because we only have to manipulate one note to get that whole half pattern to happen. D major is fat cats go down, so it has two sharps, and as you can see when we write it out, that's why we need two sharps, because we have to make the whole step and the half step patterns happen. So just a little bit of a connection to the key signatures that we've memorized. All right, double check your work, repeat, rewind, do whatever you got to do, pause. Just make sure you guys are doing this as neatly as possible, and you do not have to do theory next week. Have a great weekend, ladies.